All right. Well, thank you so much to everybody watching and everybody who's joining us. My name is Jillian. I'm the founder of Sharks4Kids, and we are really excited to be partnering with minorities in shark sciences to talk about women in marine science, our different journeys, some of the challenges, our goals, because we're all from very different locations, different backgrounds, different sort of paths that we're following and projects that we're working on. And so, yeah, we're really excited. Sharks4Kids is an education nonprofit. So we share lots of free resources, educational materials, create opportunities for students to get out in the field and participate in shark science or field trips. And we also do a lot of virtual lessons, more now than ever before, because everyone is virtual, just like we are today. And yeah, a little bit about myself. I'm originally from Maine. I now live in the Bahamas. I'm a biologist who traveled the world to work on various shark projects, stepped into the media world for a bit, filming and photography, and then combined both of those to create Sharks4Kids, to teach students all about how awesome and important these amazing animals are. Go ahead, Carly, if you want to talk a little bit about yourself.
Yes, awesome. So thank you, Jillian and Sharks4Kids for helping us host this panel. Really excited. My name is Carly Jackson, and I am a co-founder of Minorities in Shark Science, or MISS for short. And I also am the Director of Communications. And Minorities in Shark Science was created to uplift the diverse voices that are within the field of shark science. So we saw that there wasn't a lot of representation in this field, so we wanted to help bring more representation and also highlight and uplift the diverse voices already in this field. So we're really excited to be here, and we have some of our wonderful members on this panel as well too. And then a little bit about myself. I am originally from Detroit, Michigan. I'm currently located in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I just graduated with my master's degree last summer, and I studied the effects of tourism on nurse sharks in Belize. And I also work with sea turtles. So I guess, Jenny, do you want to go next?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Jill, you're on mute, so we can't hear you.
Sorry, I was just gonna say to everyone watching, if you guys have questions, we're gonna rotate through some questions, but please in the Q&A box, and we'll be happy to answer those towards the end.
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Jenny. I am originally from France, half British, and currently living in Ireland, where I'm doing my PhD. So I study the diet and ecology of marine vertebrates, but specifically I'm focusing on blue sharks, which I'm really excited about because I get to go in the field soon, which I haven't done in years. But I'm also an ambassador for Sharks4Kids and the virtual lessons coordinator. And I am also a friend of Miss, so I'm really excited to be here today. Dana?
Hello, everyone. My name is Dana. I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky. I go to school in Bowling Green State University. I'm a second-year student in Bowling Green State University in Ohio, and I'm excited to be here. Ashley?
Hi, I'm Ashley. I am currently located in Fairbanks, Alaska. I am getting my bachelor's in marine biology, and I have worked and studied sharks in the research field since I was 16.
Awesome. Hi, I'm Leanne, and I'm actually in the New York area, and I am a full-time classroom teacher. My forte is marine science. That's what all of my academics are up to postgraduate. I've had the pleasure to be on some expeditions and studying nursery grounds of several species, as well as cases within the laboratory. And I'm super happy to be here. And while we're talking about introductions, I'll just segue into talking about what path really led me to where I am today. And it was all about outreach, really. when I started my bachelor's and coming home to my family and friends, and they were like, what are you studying? Is this underwater basket weaving? And they had no concept of anything. So really, being able to translate that information to individuals. When I went to school, I never took marine science. I didn't grow up wanting to be that. I didn't know about it. I had, no experience with the ocean. I didn't grow up near the water or anything. So once I, got into the ocean in my undergraduate, I was set to do that. And in my graduate work, we were doing, bringing students out on the boat really. And that's where I was offered my first position and just thought, this is an amazing way to get kids into the field and really inspire them. So Jenny, I'd love to hear about what you brought you.
Yeah, so I, for a marine biologist, have a very typical story of growing up in love with the oceans, and I was lucky enough to live not far from the ocean. So I fell in love with nature and the oceans at a very early age. And what got me into sharks specifically was the film Sharkwater. I watched it and I was immediately fell in love with sharks and wanted to protect them at all costs. And I was still quite young at the time. But I then grew up and went on to do a marine biology degree in the UK. And I took 2 years out after that. And I knew I wanted to work with sharks, but at that point I needed to figure out a little bit more exactly what it was I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to help them, but throughout those 2 years, I did a few different things that led me to actually come to not only want to help sharks, but also help the communities around the world that relied on sharks to survive. And so I really wanted to mix the conservation and the science aspect with the social aspect. So I'm really lucky now that I am in a PhD position that allows me to take the project in whatever direction I want to go. So I have a very interdisciplinary, so different approaches to the work that I do. I'm looking at the purely scientific side of things, where I'm looking at the ecology of sharks, but I'm also looking at how the communities around the island are able to live and be more conservation aware with sharks through their jobs. So things like angling, for example. But on top of that, it's also for me as well about the outreach and sharing my love with my love of sharks and the oceans with other people. So I've ended up doing a lot of science communication, especially with Sharks4Kids, to be able to really share my love for sharks, but also create the next generation of shark advocates and ocean advocates. So that's a little bit about my path and how it got me here. Yeah. I don't know who wants to go next. Carly, maybe.
Sure, yeah, I'll just briefly say I'm, like I said earlier, I'm from Detroit, and far away from the ocean. We've got the Great Lakes, but they're not the ocean. And I remember reading a book on sharks, and I think I was on 6 or 7 years old, and I just was immediately hooked on sharks. And from then on, I was just that was the one thing that stuck. I was like, I want to be a marine biologist and I want to work with sharks. And when I finally was able to work with sharks, which was in grad school, it was, it was one of those things where I was like, yes, finally able to do what I was, it was just my dream as a kid was just to work with sharks. And from that, I started my research project my second year at grad school, and it was just really cool because I was able to work with nurse sharks, which I think they're very underrated. Jillian will agree with me. They're the best. But yeah, and it was just really exciting because for me it was it was kind of I was just living in my calling, and I was like, yes, I am really, really into this. And right now, you know, like my other job is working with sea turtles, and I always say that sea turtles are my first or my second love. Sharks will always be my first love. But yeah, it was a good segue to kind of get my foot in the door in the marine biology field. And yeah, it's been really cool, and I'm really happy with the path. And I always like to stress that everyone's path is different, you know, and as long as we get to where we want to be, like that's all that matters. The path is just different. The journey is different for everyone. And with that, can kick it off to Dana.
So when I was first 5 years old and first went to the aquarium, seeing all of the big fish, especially the sharks around me and below my feet, it sparked something in me. And I went home that day telling my mama my whole adventure. And I asked her, who studies these? And she said a marine biologist. And ever since then, I said, that's what I'm going to be. And I am nowhere near an ocean. The closest body of water to me is the Ohio River. So I just immersed myself in books and watching Discovery Channel and getting as close to the ocean as I can. So that's amazing. Ashley?
So the way I stumbled upon marine biology, I was in 4th grade, and my teacher's son for career day came in and gave a presentation on marine biology. That's what he was going to school for. And I learned that as a marine biologist, you learn about, all the different ocean creatures, sharks, dolphins, all of these things. And I grew up in New Jersey, and so I was right on the ocean. And I've always loved the ocean. I've always been like mildly obsessed with like what's in the ocean. And so when I was in 4th grade, I decided from that point on that my calling in life was to be a marine biologist. Where I decided I really wanted to work with sharks was I was 16 years old and volunteered at a local aquarium that we had. And I was taught to clean the shark tanks and was taught how to feed them. And I worked with a lot of nurse sharks as well and saw what docile creatures they really were and how misunderstood they were, and that they really weren't as scary as people had made them out to be. And I would love just going and walking up on the planks and just sitting there. And so I decided that my goal in life was to teach people that sharks really aren't scary and that they're one of the coolest creatures on Earth.
Right. Very cool. I think there's kind of a lot of similar, even though our paths might have changed along the way, I think a lot of us were inspired from a pretty young age. I grew up in Maine and spent a lot of time at the beach, lived pretty close to the ocean, and luckily had parents that loved the ocean as well. And but we used to go to Florida for my dad's work every year, and I got to snorkel with a nurse shark. Woo-hoo. All right. And still one of my, not my favorite, but very, very close. I love them so much. They're so underrated. And got to see a nurse shark, a little one, when I was snorkeling when I was 8 years old, and was just fascinated. But at that age, I was obsessed with all ocean animals because I saw manatees and dolphins and just knew that I wanted to study them, to be a marine biologist. And I think I'd actually told my parents when I was like 5 that this is what I was going to do. And they probably were like, oh yeah, sure, cool. That'll change next week, next month. And it never changed. And so growing up in a really small town in Maine, I didn't know anybody that was a marine biologist. I'd never met one. And I actually looked in a book my mom got at a yard sale, and it had Sylvia Earle in it. I was like, what? This is someone she's doing what I want to do. Like, this is amazing. Who is this woman? And so just as I got older, studying more, and then finally got an opportunity to learn to scuba dive in Maine, which is very cold. And then realized that you can go to warmer places to dive, which was awesome, and headed to Florida to start on my first project with sharks, which was with nurse sharks, studying their mating behavior with Dr. Jeff Carrier. And then worked on some lemon shark projects, headed to Australia to work on a tiger shark project, and just kind of bounced around and explored different research opportunities. And what ended up spending quite a bit of time working with tiger sharks, and always had a camera in my hand, and realized that sharing images, the reactions I was getting from people were either, wow, that's amazing, or you're insane, right, for diving with sharks or doing this. And so it was a really strong reaction. I thought, oh, this is really powerful. Like, I can do something with this and hopefully share with people a different side of sharks instead of all the, and I'm sure everyone can probably relate, you've all heard really terrible things about sharks. We all have, like, we were told that. I'm sure people have asked you why you do what you do and all this. And so I just felt like there was an opportunity to share my experience with people, my shark story, and decided to combine the research background and experience doing that with media, and created Sharks4Kids. And I still do consulting and work on a few different research projects, but primarily now I just want to teach kids about sharks. These animals are amazing. Kids give me hope. They inspire me. And I want to make sure there are free resources for kids everywhere, especially kids that don't live near the ocean. And yeah, it's amazing. I get to work with some really incredible people. Here I am on a webinar, with 5 amazing, passionate people. So yeah, working with kids, but also really passionate women as well, which is awesome. And so yeah, that's really what I want to do, and hope to get to do that for as long as I can.
That's awesome. I love hearing everyone's different journeys and how a lot of us got interested at a very young age and that it stuck. And Leanne, even you learning about sharks at an older age, but then becoming more passionate about it through teaching and everything, that's just really cool. And I think this is a good segue, but through everyone's journeys, there's always bumps in the road. And really the next question is, what is one of the biggest challenges you faced or that you currently face in your field, or just along, even just along your journey? And I'll just start out by saying that there's definitely been bumps in the road along the journey. And some of the biggest challenges were definitely like a lot of time management, and also just a lot of mental health as well, because school is a lot. And if you don't manage your time well, you can get overwhelmed, and then you'll kind of suffer mentally from that. And also just like dealing with people and I'm sure we all can relate, being a woman in this field it can be pretty difficult, because we sometimes are the minority, and also being a ethnic minority, just being a Black woman in this field. I've encountered a lot of different, racism and misogynism. So it's a lot. But yeah, so with that, Jenny, what challenges have you faced along the road?
Yeah, a challenging question, because there were a few to pick from, but I was thinking about it earlier, and I think one of the biggest challenges for me has been to be taken seriously and being undervalued a lot. So especially in my early career, I'm a young, petite woman, and I've been in situations where I've worked with fishermen, with crew, with a lot of men. And I've found that one of the biggest, issues that I face is being taken seriously by those people. Both for my physical capacities, but also just in general for my intellectual capacities as well, because I was just out of university. So that obviously meant that I possibly couldn't have enough knowledge to do the things that I was employed or there to do. So I'd say that has been one of my biggest challenges. And I say that, and on the flip side, being a woman has also played to my advantage in some situations, because I haven't been as threatening to some people, to fishermen, as my colleagues have been. So it's played to my advantage in one situation in particular, but most of the time I found that I've struggled to be taken seriously, and that I've ended up having to volunteer. I'm sure we can all relate that I've ended up having to do a lot of volunteering positions. And I've struggled with the fact that in those positions, I find myself not being valued a lot. So we go into those positions to get experience, but that doesn't mean we didn't have experience in the first place, nor that we didn't have the knowledge in the first place. And I find that when I come into those positions, you're at the back of the bottom of the food chain, and you're not considered to be as qualified as others, or as experienced, or to have the knowledge that you need to have there. So those have been challenges for me. And in fact, whenever someone comes to ask me where they should volunteer, I find that the place that I learned the most and was valued the most was in my own university, with labs, with lecturers. So that's always my first piece of advice, is to go close to home instead of seeking far away places, especially because those are the places where you'll have the most support in terms of being able to people will know you better, and also that you have accommodation or you have more support locally where you know. So that has been important for my mental health as well in those situations. You know, I get social anxiety, and being in faraway places, far away from family and friends, can be quite difficult. So having that support system around you is really important. Ashley?
So for me, I definitely think that, like Jenny said, a lot of it is being valued and being taken seriously. For a while there, I didn't have a degree in marine biology, and even though I have read probably every single book out there, I've followed a lot of Jacques Cousteau's research, and I've just studied the ocean for a really long time. I found that trying to get into even different volunteer positions that would help give me the experience in the field, I wasn't really taken seriously because I was a woman, and I also didn't really, I had an associate's, but I didn't have a bachelor's yet. And then the other thing is definitely mental health and time management. My mental health, like with going to school and trying to keep going to get a degree in marine biology, despite the fact that it is my passion, has been really hard over the last couple of years, just because, you know, life happens on life's terms, and sometimes school has to wait. But I've tried my best, and I've kept going, and I'm almost there, and this journey has taught me a lot.
Dana, you can go next.
Well, my path is just at the starting line. So, but some of the challenges I've faced is the cost, because I go to an out-of-state school. So loans are unfortunately my best friend, but it's totally worth it because it's just amazing. And another thing that I've faced is the imposter syndrome. I surround myself around other people and hearing their experience, and how they're close to the ocean and how they're better at things than me. And sometimes I question myself if I'm in the right field, and should I go somewhere else? Do I need to change my major? Or sometimes I even go as far as like, will I even be able to get a job? Will I do this and do that? And I just have to sit and really think about where it all started, because the journey, like the beginning, is just the foundation of why I'm doing this. And I know I'll face more challenges, just like being a woman and not taking seriously. And also because of my height, I am not the tallest person. And I know that my height will definitely be something to like look down under, but I know I'll have to just let them know I got this.
Here, I'll jump in, and then Leanne, you can finish and do the next question if that works. So same thing, being a woman in a field that is dominated by men. I saw it working. I taught scuba for a while. I saw it there. Working in marine science, being the only woman on the boat, filming TV shows, had a female producer own the company tell me she didn't want women filming. And I was just like, this is like, that you own the company, you've built this amazing company and now you don't want women working for you. Like, I don't get that. And so you can tell me I'm not good enough, that's fine, but don't tell me it's simply because I'm a woman that I can't handle this. And I fought and argued with her and got myself on the shoot, actually, and because I was determined. I was like, and it was you know, it was amazing. And a lot of the women on the boat and the shoot actually opened up more to me than they did to some of the guys that were filming. So I've definitely seen that. I've also faced challenges in that I work with my husband. So a lot of things of, oh, did you just get that because of him? Or recently I had images I sold, and I'd only dealt with the guy. He knew it was me, but he decided that they couldn't possibly be my photo, must be my husband's, and put them in the book. And then when I called him out on it, and it's a pretty well-known book, and some of you may have had it, and I called him out on it. He was just sort of like, oh, oops, like, no remorse, no big deal. And it's like, you know, it's just, yeah. And it was simply because my husband films and photographs, so it must be his. So that's been really challenging. I'm a new mom. I have a 7-month-old. So balancing running a nonprofit and being away from all of our family. So not having a lot of, and in a pandemic, not having a lot of childcare and help. That's been a real challenge. So it's, you know, it's amazing, but man, overwhelmed, lack of sleep, trying to figure out how these women do it all. How do they run businesses and work and do this? And yeah, I haven't figured it out exactly. We're just sort of stumbling through day by day with a lot of coffee. Yeah, but that's kind of the biggest challenge right now. It's worth it. I mean, I love everything I get to do, but yeah, every step of the way. And my advice is, you know, I've been working with sharks now for about 18 years. So Leanne and I actually met 18, 19 years ago, working on our first shark project. So that we're a little bit further along in our careers, but I just is for everybody is don't give up. Let somebody tell you never listened. You're going to be told it's not for you. You can't do this. You're going to hear that. You've already heard it. You'll find a way. Just follow that and you will make it work. It may not be the straight line that you want. It may be all over the place, but you'll still get there. You know, like Carly said, follow that passion, stick with it. You will find a way.
So thank you, you know, everybody sharing. And, you know, realistically, I can do justice, but, you know, echo what everybody's been saying again, you know, questioning myself and just being thankful for having an opportunity, you know, and not fighting for the work or credit that I've actually put forth and so forth. And, you know, always having to seemingly prove myself because I'm a woman. But one thing that, you know, in my, you know, teaching and so forth, a challenge that's I really taken notice is really just the system that makes it what it is. With my educator hat on, it's the lack of access, really, like in our school systems. As I said, you know, some of us maybe never had it in school. A lot of people, you know, here, a lot of you are all talking about, you know, I read it, I watched it in a movie, I went out, and that is amazing and that is great. But, you know, think about, you know, the individuals that are not knowing that that's even a possibility. You know, there's the science standards really focus in schools on physical science, life science, earth and space, and engineering. And not to take away from any of that, but ocean literacy is really on the back burner, or rather it's an afterthought. It wasn't until like, you know, 2013, 2015 that we were really coming up with the, you know, ocean literacy, the scope and sequence of how we're going to introduce this. So that's been a really big challenge. Many of the schools that I've been teaching at had no marine science program until I came along. And that's exactly why they sought me out. So that's the thing, you know, and that's far and few schools that are existing and having these programs. And that's why I think, you know, I'm so thankful to have, you know, met Jillian along my path, because that's why it's so important, you know, Sharks for Kids and what Miss is doing, educating all around the world, really, you know, with Sharks for Kids. After this, I have another talk, and it's really just getting the information out there and making it accessible and allowing, you know, anyone to know that they can follow this path, really. So yeah, those have been some challenges. And I agree, the same thing now, you know, mental health as it was prior, again, support financially, and, you know, that mental health component is really important. So with that being said, thinking about goals. So we want to focus on the positives and thinking about goals for the next 5 years. And this is actually something that I gave a lot of thought about, and might be easier for some of you starting your careers. And I was like, what do I want in the next 5 years? One thing I have in going back and working in a lab, I've grown attached to egg cases, mermaids' purses. And I definitely want to get my hands on one of the clear, glossy swell shark ones. You've seen them, they're totally clear, wicked cool. I've seen it in photos, but I need to be able to see that. And the plethora of cat shark shapes and sizes that have been coming out and being discovered. So I definitely want to see that. But one thing in the next 5 years that, along looking at egg cases, I did an SEM, I did a scan under a microscope, okay, scanning electron microscope, and I got a picture of a ratfish, and it's amazing and it's awesome. And I posted on social media when I was at a workshop once, and it just blew up, and people were like, what is that? What is that? So apparently it's not a big thing out there. And not that I'm trying to hoard it, but I just haven't found the time to really look at it. And that's something that I want to get back into a lab, really analyze, really look at, and publish even a small article to get it out there, to share the information so someone else can pick it up and move along. So that's what I have. Dana, you want to go ahead and share? 5-year goals.
So my goals is to hopefully be completing my master's and throw myself into the work field and try to find a job. And yep, that's my 5-year goal. Ashley?
So my 5-year goal is kind of similar to Dana's. I hope to be working on and finishing my master's. I also hope to be researching sharks full time, and to be able to take my 2 girls with us as well, to start teaching them about my love of sharks and the love of the ocean. Similar to you, Jillian, I have a almost 10-month-old, and I also have a 2-year-old.
Awesome. Carly, you want to go ahead?
I'll go last so I can ask the next question.
I'll jump in. Yeah, Ashley, amazing. I can't even imagine with 2. Yeah, awesome. Kudos to you. You're a rock star. I have so much respect for the balance and figuring it and making it work, because you stumble through each day, and yeah. 5-year goals for me, I would like to do a graduate degree in education. Actually, I think it would be really valuable. I work as in that aspect. So developing programs and working and building Sharks4Kids really with no experience in running a business or kind of formal education has been really challenging. I love it. So I think that would really benefit. And also just continuing to grow Sharks4Kids. We have a lot of new projects. A lot of things got put on hold, as for most people, with the pandemic. So I'm excited for us to be able to get back out there and do some of the projects that we had to pause, and just continue to grow our resources and provide more opportunities for even more students to get out in the field. And kind of like what Leanne said, is having access to opportunities is a big thing. And I would have loved to gone out and gone shark tagging when I was a kid. I went on a lobster boat. I'm from Maine. We went out and saw some seals. Like, that was awesome. But yeah, I didn't really have other opportunities as far as that. And so yeah, if we can provide more opportunities for students to get out in the field, and experience that and have that connection, that's really the ultimate goal for us, and what I will always want to be working towards.
Me next. I don't have any babies. The extent of my babies are fur babies, so I really admire you ladies who are doing it. But for me, my 5-year goals, I mean, career-wise, I hope to have finished my PhD within the next 5 years, within the next 2 years, hopefully. And I could probably pinpoint a position that I wanted to be in afterwards, but wherever I am, I really hope that I can be somewhere where, one, I have a woman mentor, because I actually have never had a mentor who is a woman in my career, and I'd really like to experience that. And I also hope to be in a position where I can pay it forwards and pay it back, and so be able to give opportunities to someone else after me. Those are really my goals for the next 5 years, wherever I end up in the world and career-wise. Yeah. Carly?
Yes, awesome. My 5-year goal, I would say, so I just know for the next 2 years, I am going to be starting a new job. So after that, I would like to start my PhD. So I'm hoping in the next 5 years, I'll be working on some cool shark project and working towards a PhD. And also, I would like to go back to Belize and do some more research there, because a lot of the research I did on their sharks was, I'd like to say it's pretty preliminary, and there's just so much more. I have so many more questions that I want answered, and I would love to go back there in the next couple of years and finish up some research. But yeah, let's see. All right, so now we have our last question of the panel. And this last question is just, what advice would you give to youth that are passionate about marine science, but they don't know if they want to make a career out of it yet? And I'll just start out by saying I always tell people to just try everything, and also to just like do your own research. Just like Dana, I was literally immersed in books up until I, was finally able to move to a college that was near the ocean. And I think that if you are interested in marine science, just like learn as much as you can about marine science and kind of see what catches your eye and see what you might like. And if you're already in school and you are thinking about possibly making a career out of marine science, just volunteer at a lot of places. Hopefully in the next year, or hopefully by the next fall, we'll be a little bit more open up and people start taking volunteers. But I always say, like, volunteering is such a good way to figure out if you like something, because you're not like chained to that place. You can just volunteer. If you don't like it, then just move on. But yeah, and if you're in school, like, volunteering in different labs is a really good way to figure out what you like, what you don't like, because I remember I tried a lot of different things in undergrad, and I don't like sponges. I knew that. I was like, I hate sponges. I was allergic to whatever was in sponges. So it's a whole nother story. But I liked being out on boats, and I loved getting dirty, and that was something I knew that I wanted that to be a part of my career. But yeah, so let's see, Ashley, what advice would you give to youth that are interested in marine science?
So the advice that I would give is similar to what Carly said. Definitely like volunteer, but also like don't be afraid to sit there and like Google like research opportunities near you, or like seek out adventure. Maybe take your summer and go somewhere and research sharks, or work on a project in the marine science field. And then also, like, if people start to doubt you, just like do some self-talk and tell yourself that you can keep going and keep doing it. But also try everything, like if you don't like one aspect of marine science, doesn't mean you might not like another aspect of marine science. Jenny?
Yeah, actually, that's really great. And I'll bounce back on what you're saying, is that there are so many different aspects to marine science and marine biology. You could be someone who's a complete lab, like lab nerd and you love looking down a microscope, or you could be someone who loves being out in the field, or you could be someone who loves to play with numbers and data. And you're not going to know that until you give it a go and try it out. There are so many different ways you can try, and that can start at a really young age in your own backyard, or you can have a look. There are lots of citizen science, community science projects out there that you can get involved with, whether it's looking for mermaids' purses on the beach, or going out and exploring what's in your garden, what animals you see in your garden. Those are different things that are going to get you really familiar with what science involves and what it means, and it will get you to meet people who'll tell you what it means to do science. But on top of that, Dr. Ayana Elizabeth Johnson recently shared a Venn diagram on her social media, and I actually thought it was perfect for this, because it said, find what you love, find what you're good at, and find what works need to be done, and go to the intersection of all of those things, and that's what you could do in your life. So you might not be good at being out in the field. Maybe you're like prone to sunburn like me, or maybe you get seasick like me, and maybe you're better at like doing maths, or computing, coding, and all of those things. And there's work to be done there. There's work that needs to be done, and if you love it, then go for it. So yeah, like find out what's out there, explore, read books, talk to people when you go to aquariums or zoos or wherever you go and explore. There'll be people there who have knowledge of all of these things, so talk to them. Even on social media, there's so much going on and so many people sharing about their work that you can really get to know exactly what you might want to do, and give it a try. And if you don't like it, it's never too late to change. That's another thing, is that you're in no rush. There's no rush to get to where you're going, and you can always change your path. It's really, you're in charge of your own path. So yeah, that would be my advice. Dana?
So my advice would be, if you see a vision that only you can see and no one else sees it, they will never see your vision. So there's no point in explaining it to them if they don't care, because it is your passion, it is your vision. And if you see yourself doing something, then I encourage you to just go for it. It's not going to be easy, but you got to ask yourself, how bad do you want it? I ask that myself every single day. Every time I get frustrated, I ask myself, how bad do you want it? Because you can't get to where you want to be without hard work, without struggles, without failures, because you're going to have a lot of failures. So you just got to see the plan and get to the plan, because you can do it.
And I'll just jump in there. Let's see. Again, I echo everything that's been said. A big thing, again, opportunities, taking opportunities. Because again, if it wasn't for me dropping off a friend to go tagging sharks, I wouldn't have had my first experience tagging a shark, and possibly had gone a different path. So take the opportunities that are presented to you. Don't think that you can't do it. Don't give up on yourself. Even, again, some of us have, mentioned it, Jenny, until recently, I had never had a female as a mentor. And it was one of the best things, so amazing to have someone like that support me and push me. So even if you don't see that representation there, don't think you can't do it, because you could be that next role model for the next generation. So definitely, continue with your passion. And with that, Jillian?
Yeah, I'm a little bit similar, like Carly said, is like trying things, right? Trying different things, because you might be really focused on sharks, but then yeah, you find out, I worked at a SEAL rehabilitation center during undergrad, and because it was on campus and it was easy, it was an opportunity, and I did some vet tech stuff. I do not like seals. I figured out that I did not want to work with them. When one threw up on me and I had to go to class stinking of seal vomit, I was like, this is not for me. I learned some valuable skills with the vet tech stuff, how to take blood, which came, in use with sharks later on. So I think trying lots of different things, one, to learn about what you want to do, but also what you definitely don't want to do. It's valuable on both sides. I think don't be afraid to reach out to people and ask people, despite, I think we live in a world where, oh, so-and-so has so many followers or this, or this degree or this experience, or they're on this TV show or whatever it is, but just message people and ask them, because most people are, even if they're super busy, like they're gonna, they'll take the time, take a minute to just say, hey, suggestions. And so I think don't be afraid to reach out to people, and pursue mentors, and in different, whether it's at a university, whether it's just someone you love what they do. I think that's really something that, don't be afraid to do that, to find out and maybe ask them what their path was for some advice or recommendations. I mean, I think sometimes we are so worried what people are going to think or say that we don't speak up. And I think it's worthwhile to just, speak up. And now it's even easier with so many different social media platforms that you can actually connect with people. Use it as a tool for much more than just social, like here's a cool photo. It can be very valuable for making connections. Cool. All right. Well, I just want to say thank you so much. I don't know if Jenny wants to jump on. I saw your hand raised, but I like the kids with their hand raised. I just want to thank all of you guys for taking time today and sharing. I think it's really amazing to see all the different journeys, all the different paths, but also the things that we share, the things that we sort of all spoke to and said we had faced. And I think that's really, really powerful. And yeah, I really appreciate everyone's time, and make sure everyone checks out Sharks4Kids for additional resources, and minorities in shark sciences. They have a lot of amazing opportunities for people to get involved. They have some new educational resources as well. We're excited to hopefully collaborate a little bit more on some projects as well. But I don't know if anyone has any last final parting words they want to put in.
I was just going to echo again, networking and reaching out, because even if it doesn't come to fruition with a career path or something, you can build a community of friends and who may become your family, honestly.
Yeah, I completely agree. And on top of that, because I've never had a female mentor in positions that were of mentorship, my peers have become my mentors, and they've become my support system. So, I may not have a female mentor, but I have women all around me who have been so incredible at uplifting me and supporting me and giving me that boost when I was suffering from imposter syndrome. So I just want to say your feelings are valid, and everyone, just because you feel like you don't belong somewhere doesn't mean you don't, because you do, you absolutely do. And I find that the women around me have often been the best at really uplifting me and making me feel like, yeah, actually I do belong here, and I should be here. And yeah, so I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for being there and for being that support system as well.
Awesome. Yes, I just wanted to also echo everyone and just say thank you for being on this panel. A lovely mix of Sharks4Kids and Miss members, and even friends of Miss too. And yeah, just, I think things like this are needed because, like I said, like we all said, like women, this field is just dominated by males, and just seeing a whole panel full of women that are in shark science and educating kids on sharks and everything is just awesome. And hopefully we'll have more.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys again. We'll make sure we put this up on the YouTube channel. Thank you. And yeah, thank you everyone for sharing your story, your time, your passion. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, ladies, so much for being inspiration. Keep up the work.
Thank you.